Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. And let me tell you what happened to Monica. Monica's on trial, right? Now, her lawyer, he's trying to paint a picture of what it is that really put her in the position that she was in. He told them of Monica's addiction. He told them of how Jamal used to pimp Monica out so that they could smoke crack. He told them that in the throes of the addiction that Monica was in agreement with what was happening because her body was aching and she wanted not the sex but the drugs. And she would do anything for it. But she was still a victim. She was a victim of circumstance. Because see, not one time did Jamal offer himself up to pay for the dope. He used her in an environment where women are often seen as objects, nothing more, nothing less. He used her because he knew with her looks and her beauty, even when she was addicted to drugs, that most men would do anything to be with someone like that. So in this regard, he laid a foundation that it's almost like opening Pandora's box where once this happens, how do you control that, you know? So when this guy came by after years and years of Monica and Jamal being junkies, now they are the main suppliers of the drugs on this particular side of town. And when this guy comes by, someone that had been with Monica intimately, even though the circumstances weren't ideal, he was using her because Jamal gave him to her for one night. When he saw Monica, he felt as though she would allow him to do this because he had been with her before. But when she rejected him, he became enraged. He became enraged. And he found himself in a situation where he wanted to take it. He told her, you think you're better than me? You think you somebody now? Because you selling me dope? And he smacks her. And he knocks her down. Now when the lawyer, he's telling this story, he's scanning the jury, he's seeing if there's any responses, positive or negative. This man's done this before, so he know how to read this jury, and he's looking to see, is anybody listening? Is anybody listening? But he couldn't get a response, not then. So he continued to lay out this story, and then once the man was on top of Monica and he had ripped her clothes off and he was having her way with her, she got her senses and she reached and grabbed an ashtray and she hit him in the head twice and she panicked. And what does she do, y'all? She's done the one thing she's done since she became addicted to drugs. She ran to get Jamal. I know most people would say, this is what the lawyer is saying to the jury, why didn't she call the police? So the lawyer, he looked over the audience, he looked over the jury, and he said, leaning onto the banister right in front of the first juror, he said, how could she? She was a drug dealer, former addict, selling drugs. Nobody's gonna care if she's been raped. Nobody's gonna care about her. So she ran to the one person that she thought would protect her. Because you gotta remember, he wasn't dead when she ran out that house. He wasn't. But when they got back, he was gone. That's what you're gonna hear from the DA. That's what you're going to hear from the DA. And then on top of that, see, this is the twist right here, y'all. Y'all got to, look, keep up with me now, because here's the twist. And on top of that, she ends up taking the body and puts it in the dumpster. Wow. How did she do that? She said she did it on her own. So the DA pushed that narrative. She killed this man. She says he raped her, but we can't prove it. We don't have a rape kit. We don't have this. We only have her word. The DA is falling right into the trap that the lawyer set for him. Because see, here's the thing. If you're not going to believe the word of a former addict that says she was raped because, you know, this guy comes by and he recognizes her from the time when he used to be able to have his way with her for drugs, if you're not going to believe her now, her lawyer said, why do you think the police would have believed her then? So the DA sitting at the table, he knows he's falling into the trap. And her lawyer keeps pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. So they bring in the star witness. They bring him in. He sits on the stand and he testifies and he tells them what he was doing and why he was over there and what he saw. But he left out some details, y'all. He left out the details of how he blackmailed them for months. He left that out. He left out the detail that they paid him $10,000 to just disappear. He left that out. But why would you bring that up? Why would you use that to try to defend yourself from a murder? What do you have to lose? You got to lay it all out because what you got to do is impugn this person's testimony. So when her lawyer gets up, he said, "Sir, how long have you known the defendant?" And he tells him, "I've been knowing her for years in the streets." So he said, "What is her last name?" He couldn't tell her. He said, "How well do you know her?" "I know her pretty good from the streets." He said, "How do you know her in the streets?" And he cracks a grin and he smiles. He said, "Well, you know, everybody done had her. Everybody done had her." And Monica sits at the table and she shamefully puts her head down and she looks up and looks over at the jury, and a few of the people looking at her, they started to show some empathy. Because here she is, she's sitting at this table listening to people talk about her life and how she had made a mess of it and how almost every man in the neighborhood had their way with her, those in the streets anyway, had their way with her because she was an addict. And she felt bad, she felt ashamed, she was hurt. But it was true. So her lawyer continued to question him, and again, he was falling right into the trap, like the DA did. He wanted everybody to understand that if you see her like this, what chance does she have by going to the police? Do you understand why she didn't go to the police? And if they accept the fact that she didn't go to the police because she thought wasn't nobody gonna believe her, if they accept the fact that she didn't go to the police because she was ashamed of the lifestyle that she was living, if they accept the fact that she didn't go to the police because she knew that she would probably get in trouble, that's a little shaky though, then they have to accept the fact, listen to me, they have to accept the fact that none of this is making sense. You want to believe the DA say all of these things about her and her reputation and all this and that, but you can't understand why she wouldn't go to the police? You can't understand why she tried to take matters into her own hands? Absolutely. It's not, listen to me, y'all. It's not beyond the realm of understanding to think that because someone is in the streets that they don't trust the police. But when you've been broken and torn down by the person that love you the most, you've been pimped out by the person that say they love you, your self-esteem is shot. Of course you're going to run to that person and ask, what do we do? Why didn't anybody say, why didn't Jamal call the police? Why didn't they do that? Because Jamal was protecting his drug ring. He was protecting what he had. He wasn't thinking about how it would affect her. He wasn't thinking about that. Because see, Jamal is not the one on trial. So he knew when he decided to throw that body in the dumpster that if it ever goes south, it's her. It's not him. He didn't do anything. He just wanted to make sure he could continue to make money. Whatever happens to her, happens to her. And you see, Jamal, he didn't even show up to court. He's not sitting there supporting Monica or anything. No. Because he's afraid that he might get arrested. See, a lot of people that's in the streets, even if they don't have a warrant, they're not trying to go up in no courtroom. For what? Somebody might look at you and say they recognize you, and next thing you know, you got handcuffs on in the back trying to explain to these folks that it wasn't me. So he's not going to try that. He's not going to risk that. So he finds himself sitting at home wondering what's happening. And when the day of testimony ends and they come home and they're talking and the lawyer's talking and they figure out that, she might have to take some time. What would you be willing to take? Jamal said. Think about that. She said, you giving up on me? He said, nah, I'm not giving up on you. We got to face the reality of the situation like we always have. We deal with reality. We don't deal with fiction. And if they come with something, what would you take? She said, I don't want to go to jail. And she starts to cry. She said, if I go to jail, you're going to leave me. And she starts to cry harder. Jamal puts his hand on her back and he tells her, he said, I've been with you this whole time. I made your bail. I paid the lawyer. I've done everything I know to do for you. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Because she's the one that's having to face the consequences of this. So she starts to think about some of the things that her lawyer said in the courtroom about the situation that she has found herself in. And she's getting upset. She's getting upset because what do you do? What do you do about somebody that says they love you when it dawns on you that this person is pimping you out? It wasn't like she was pimping herself out and smoking all the dope. She was pimping herself out so both of them could smoke. And if not for that, it would have never led to the sexual assault. It would have never led to that. But it did. And now she starts to see Jamal different. She don't dare say it because her street senses kicked in. But she starts to realize he had been using her. They had all been using her. Every man in her life had used her. You see, Monica, she left home at a very, very young age. See, her father, actually her stepfather, was molesting her. Her father had passed away when she was young. Her mother remarried, and the dude wasn't straight. So when she left and ran to the streets, she met Jamal. She met Jamal, and Jamal was a high school dropout, and they ran the streets together and were having big fun, avoiding responsibilities. They were kids. They were doing what kids do. They didn't know anything else, and then suddenly they ended up addicted to crack, and they had to get the dope some kind of way, and all Jamal could think was what? When one of the dope boys said, man, let me get her for the night, and I'm going to let you smoke. And when he goes back to her, he talks her into it that first time, and she said, but you won't love me no more. He said, I'm going to always love you. I'm going to always love you. I'm going to always love you. But she couldn't believe that. She couldn't believe that. She couldn't believe that. All she could understand was that, you know what I'm saying? All she could understand was that, this man said that he loves her, was pimping her. Wait a minute, y'all. Hold up. Hold up. You love her? You want to be with her? But you just talked her into giving her body to somebody? Really? And she does it. And they smoke. And she used the dope to forget about what she had just done. She let him shower her and wash over her with all the I love yous and it's going to be all right, baby, and we just got to do what we got to do for now. She forgot. But see, all of those old injuries, those old pains, those old traumas were being reawakened with this trial. So day 2 comes. She goes to trial. There are no other witnesses, but the coroner comes in and testifies as to the manner of death, blunt force trauma to the head. The burning to the body was post-mortem, meaning after the death. The coroner said that the body had been in the dumpster for at least 3 to 4 days before it was burned. So any evidence that would point towards guilt or innocence on the behalf of the individual that they found in the dumpster was gone and destroyed. And anything that might have been able to exonerate her, it was gone, it was destroyed. Nothing could back up her story. So she did what most people won't do. She told her lawyer she wanted to take the stand. For the first time in her life, she decided that I got to tell my story. I'm all alone. She said it's all on her. So she gets up, she goes to the witness stand, she raises her right hand, she swears to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And her lawyer cross-examines her. He asks her, tell us about yourself, Miss Monica. What was your life like? And she turned and she looked at the jury and she told the jury that she ran away from home when she was 13 or 14 years old. She can't remember now. And the lawyer said, why did you run away from home? She said, because my mother wouldn't believe that my stepfather was raping me at night while she was at work. She said, I couldn't take no more. The 2 women on the jury, they took their arms and wrapped their own arms around their own bodies in squares and as supported in a supportive way of what Monica was saying. She said, I told my mother and my mother told me that I was lying. So when she left, she broke ties with her mother and she met Jamal. And when she met Jamal, she got hooked on crack. And Jamal sold her to different dope boys night after night, day after day. And they did all sorts of things to her when she was a child. And then when she kicked the habit, she thought she was making progress. This is good, right? She's not on drugs, but she's selling drugs. And then she's grown up. And now, here comes somebody from her past and he decides that he's going to rape her, and she freaked out. And she did the only thing that she could do. She fought back. But she didn't intend for him to die. She just wanted him to stop. Like she wanted all the other men to stop. So when she finished testifying, the DA cross-examined her. He didn't really want to go at her real hard, but he cross-examined her. He said, why didn't you tell this story before? And she said, nobody would believe me. And the DA sat down and said, well, why should we believe you now? And she said, because I'm telling the truth. And when the jury came back, y'all, after 3 or 4 days of deliberation, they found her guilty, but of a lesser charge. And the judge sentenced her to 15 years in the state penitentiary. And she felt relief. She got up, went in the back, put the handcuffs on, and walked out. And went to prison. And if you want to know how this story continues to play out, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode, right? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.